Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know there's a lot of really cool CLEs happening, so the fact that you're here and want to learn, I'm just really excited to show you all a little bit what we do. I am actually in a Canva presentation, so I wanted it to be as hands-on as possible so you guys can see in real life how I use it, what I do with it. But yeah, we're going to be specifically going through social media graphics through Canva, but there's some other things I'm going to touch on too. A little bit about me. I am a solo firm owner. I've been practicing for almost 8 years, and I opened my firm a little over 4.5 years ago. And I am a self-proclaimed social media lover, so I do really actually love social media. I'm on there a ton, but you don't have to love social media or be really good at it to be able to put up really cool content and graphics on Canva, and I'm going to talk that through. I'm a former communications major, but I have absolutely zero design experience, nothing of the sort. And so just kind of looking at the capabilities that Canva has, I think it's really simple enough for y'all to be able to create stuff that's going to be really engaging. Through our firm, we represent business owners, entrepreneurs, and influencers. And I found that most of my clientele were hanging out online, so that's why I wanted to hang out online, on Instagram specifically. So for the first probably year and a half of running my firm, we never used paid ads, strictly just organic social media content, and it worked. We have, thankfully, a lot of really great clients, and I think we don't really use paid ads that often anymore, maybe once a quarter through the firm, but a lot of it is just organic. And we operate virtually in Los Angeles. I do not have an actual physical office location, so it became super, super important for me to be able to show my clientele exactly who we are, what we do, in addition to our website. I find that my clientele and a lot of other people these days are making sure that you have a website, and then also they kind of want to see your social media presence. They want to maybe see who you are as a person, what you act like, what you maybe do on a regular basis. I know that's kind of uncomfortable for some of us as attorneys. It was very difficult for me to show people a different side of me, but people really love it on social media. That's why they're there. And yeah, so let's get started. Things that I want to go through today. So we're going to just go through some Canva basics. If you have a Canva login already, if you want to go ahead and hop on Canva, walk through me when we do this stuff, just so maybe I can get a sense of people that do or don't have Canva, who actually uses Canva or has an account. Okay, perfect, good. So yeah, if you want to hop on, they obviously have a site that you can log into, but it's also mobile accessible, which I'm using on the go all the time. And we're also going to go through how to create graphics. There are, of course, a ton of different ways to create graphics, but I'm going to show you a little bit how I do it, how I've done it. I have consulted with marketing agencies to help me figure it out. I've done it on my own. We have since hired a social media manager from my other business to do content. So I've been through all the stages of this, and I still find myself on Canva absolutely all the time. So I think it's a really amazing tool. And then I want to take a quick look at measuring success and figuring out if your content is actually performing, because we don't want to just throw stuff out there, never look at it again, and then be like, why is this not working? So what is Canva? I have a lot of you raise your hand that you already have Canva, so won't go too much into detail, but Canva currently has around 125 million users, and they recently celebrated their 15th billionth design. So there are a ton of people using Canva, and it's trusted by newbies. It's trusted by professionals. When I did hire a social media manager, she immediately asked for my Canva login so that she could access all my stuff. So everyone is using it. Good visuals are extremely important. So let's take a look first at creating what content we want to see. I'm going to do a little bit quick comparison with these slides, but I think it's kind of obvious that visuals are very, very important. Forbes article reported that 91% of consumers prefer visual content to written content. And as lawyers, I know that we are staring at pages with no pictures all day. And kind of gets a little boring sometimes, and it's really fun to scroll through social media for the reason that we're looking at things, we're looking at pictures, we're looking at videos. So this is the exact same slide, no pictures, no font changes, nothing attracting your eye. Like, that's pretty boring. To reiterate, you absolutely don't have to be a pro at Canva to try it, use it, or be successful with it. Their slogan is actually design anything, publish anywhere. I think they do a really good job of catering to people that have zero design background. And we're going to go through the free version of the platform. We personally use the paid version at this point just because the capabilities that you have, I think, are much better. But you can absolutely use the free version. We created this presentation on the free version, and you can definitely do some cool stuff on the free version too. So getting started, a lot of you already have Canva, so that's amazing. We use paid version, and we're going to be going through what options the free has. You can also, which is my favorite feature of Canva, you can upload your images and logos so they're sitting right there in your account as you're creating. So instead of having to like drop from another folder, maybe take a picture from your website, what we do quite often is upload our pictures immediately to Canva, and that's a trick I saw from another marketing person, so I will credit that to them. They just upload all their pictures to Canva so that they're immediately right there. Logos also, Canva has a capability for you to update your logos, your brand colors, your fonts, everything, so they're immediately there, and you can create stuff really quickly. And when you're in there, take a look around if you're not familiar with Canva or how to use it. They are constantly updating things. I think this past week they implemented like a ton of AI updates, which when I created this, they didn't have yet. So I went over it last night and they have some new stuff. So I'm really excited to walk through that. They have a ton of pre-assembled templates, or you can create things on your own. I frequently am just going off of templates, but if I ever need to create stuff just off the cuff, you can do that as well. Benefits of templates versus designing your own. So we use a ton of template-based things. We use templates for our Instagram posts. Stories, not so often. Those are a little bit more organic as I'm like screenshotting things, but you can absolutely create Instagram stories on Canva. Facebook posts and stories, LinkedIn posts, presentations like this, and then also even like freebies, guides, lead magnets potentially for your email newsletter. Designing your own. Times that we kind of use our own are when we have maybe documents or PDFs that are going to clients maybe at a certain stage of us representing them, and I want to add some images or something more exciting so they're actually reading the document and not just ignoring it. You can actually create documents in Canva as well. And then if you're repurposing other content, what we do frequently is like screenshot our own tweets, threads, and then put it into Canva so we can easily upload it. So I actually want to walk through the features of Canva, and I'm going to open this up. Anybody have any specific types of platform content they want to see? Open? Okay, we'll do Instagram? Okay, cool. That's my favorite. So what I have open here is an Instagram post. Let me quickly go back. When you're in the Canva homepage, you can quickly go up to create a design, and they have a ton of different options for you pre-formatted, so you don't have to try and figure out like what the pixels are on each platform. You can just roll through here and figure out what it is you need. If you want a LinkedIn post, there's a million different types of LinkedIn posts and headers. One that we found pretty recently was email, newsletters. They have a lot of stuff pre-formatted for you, so you're not sitting there trying to figure out what the size is that you need. So let's go back to Instagram. We frequently use Instagram post portrait, and not a marketing expert, but as we've been told, when people are scrolling through Instagram, that's just taking up most of the screen. It's giving them the longest amount of time to see whatever it is that you're posting. So we use the portrait template unless we need the square for some reason, but I'll open up the portrait. So before we actually create anything, I just kind of want to roll through the different features that they have, including the brand new ones. This is our design page, and it kind of gives you some suggestions on maybe some things that they think that you want to create. What I found over time is they kind of, at least I think, they know what I'm about to create, so they'll suggest different things that they think I might want to use. Elements tab, what you can do is grab your icons, you can grab your shapes, graphics, photos, videos. Canva has a ton of stock photos in their library, but if you're on the paid, they have a lot more. With the free version, I don't know if you can see, I don't have it listed. I don't think they have it listed here, but if you were to search like lawyer, they do have a ton of images if you want to use those, but all of these are pro version, paid. We use pixels for a lot of our stock photos. They're free, so you can just drag and drop, but if you'd prefer to work from inside Canva, Canva has a ton of pictures for you. Same with videos. And then a bunch of other cool stuff here, frames to put in your pictures. Quite honestly, we don't even use all of this stuff, but they have a ton of capabilities for you if you're the creative type. Text, this is where you can drop in your brand kit. So if you've had somebody create a brand guide for you with fonts, colors, etc., you can drop that into Canva, which makes it really easy to just pick out a template and then change around the colors very quickly. We do that really, really often with our posts and also with presentations. Fonts, you can drop those in here. If you don't have any preset fonts that maybe a designer have given you, you can just pick your favorites. They also, I really like these just to get some inspiration. If we want to grab a lot of attention to a post, they have a ton of like really bright fonts that you can use. This is our brand section. So as you can see with the free version, not a lot of this is available. So that's most of the reason why we went over to the paid version, but you can still kind of get around some of this without having the paid. So with the logos specifically, if you don't have the paid, you're not going to be able to drop in your logos, but what you can do is just drop in to the upload section. You can drop in your logos and still use them. They're not going to be as easy to access if you have a ton of other things uploaded here, but if you're on the free version, you can do that. They also have colors. You can upload up to 3 on the free version. Paid version gives you a lot more options, but one of my favorite features here with the colors is that you can shuffle. We'll see it in a little bit, but when you're creating an actual graphic, Canva will just assign the colors for you, shuffle around, see which one looks the best. And in my opinion, they do a really good job of balancing the colors and making it look like pretty decent already. So you're not just like winging it with what colors look good next to each other. Fonts you can grab here. They just updated with the AI updates brand voice implementation. So if you do have a brand voice that's been assigned to your brand, drop that in here when you are maybe creating some content on, I don't know, family law. You can start typing, ask them to write something for you, and they'll be able to utilize your brand voice. That's brand new. Uploads, we talked about, you can upload a ton of stuff. They even have the function for you to be able to record yourself. I've never used that, but I've heard it's pretty cool. You can upload pictures, videos. What we do with most of our photos, whether that's like a photo shoot type of thing, or if it's just like photos from an event like this, we'll put them into folders so that when we're creating graphics, I can easily see like, oh, that was from a photo shoot last year or 2 years ago. Draw, never used this function. Pretty cool though. And projects, this is where you'll be able to see all your past material. So if you're thinking like, I want to create something that I created 2 weeks ago, it'll be back here. Apps, they have a ton of integrated apps. I don't use a lot of these. What we use a lot are the QR codes, which are really great. But they have a ton of other integrations. Quite honestly, we don't use most of them. We do use Pexels, but they have a ton of those in here. So I really like their user interface. I think it's pretty clean. Let's take a look at if we were to actually create something. So this is like if I were to go in and create something, I just want to be able to show you guys how quickly you could do it. So I'd go to design, This new feature that they have, this is newer. I think in the past week they dropped this with the AI integration. You can kind of just tell Canva like, hey, this is what I want to make. Previously, we'd be searching like webinar announcement or, informational graphic, but you can actually tell Canva what you want to create. So what did I do here before? Create a law firm ad. These are the hits that are going to come up that are previously populated, but their AI will create some suggestions for you. And these, I believe, are like brand new things that are created on the spot when you're typing that in. So let's see. Maybe let's try. Oh, I guess I gave you credits. So these aren't going to be free for a while. They do give you credits, I guess. So maybe let's see if they'll let us use it. Cool. So if we were making this, what I immediately do is change our brand fonts, brand colors, go over to brand. This is just a sample brand palette, and I would just start shuffling around to see what I like the best. I would either drop a photo of myself in here, or you can grab a quick stock photo, like, I don't know, family. Voila. A lot of these are paid, so you might have to sift through if you're on the free version. What do we want to use? Oh, geez, a lot of these are paid. This one doesn't look paid. So if we wanted to use this guy, drop it in, see which colors look the best, and then change the fonts if you have different brand fonts. Maybe quickly add in a logo at the bottom. Making sure that like if you're aware and comfortable with like how your brand is supposed to be presented, noting that like if you don't usually do graphics like this, like take it out. But you can add in a bunch of other cool stuff. But as you can see, they have a ton of templates, and that took me like under a minute to be able to at least create something or the start of something that I could use for an ad, for content, anything like that. Let's go back here. So quick reminders, just when you're creating content, again, I'm not a marketing expert, but these are just some things that we've picked up along the way in hiring, marketing people, just seeing what works and what people like to see. People really, really love color, so utilize your brand palette if you have one. If you haven't had somebody create that for you, maybe work with somebody. If you're creating your own colors or picking your own colors, maybe take a look at quick color psychology and things that evoke certain emotions from people on colors, and also be consistent. So what we like to do, just for sake of consistency, is really keep things on our feed, on our stories, across all platforms, really consistent with colors, because after a certain period of time, people might start recognizing like, oh, this is the law firm that I follow, and they usually post with this color, or they usually post with this font. We see it done really well, especially with some of our clients that are like copywriters and designers. I can just tell by the colors sometimes who it is and when they're posting without really even having to look at it. Designing for different platforms. These are some things that we have found are successful. LinkedIn, we do just a square. So you can go into Canva and just click on the LinkedIn option. We use square posts. You can do videos though on LinkedIn. Carousels do pretty well for us on LinkedIn, and video surprisingly does pretty well if you're comfortable putting up a video on LinkedIn. I know some people aren't, and we do it kind of rarely, but it does pretty well because there's not a ton of people brave enough to put up videos on LinkedIn. With Instagram, I mentioned that we do the portrait mode, so the 1080 by 1350, not the square, just to take up more screen space when people are scrolling through. Static posts, that's just like your generic post that you're putting up with one graphic. Carousels is if you're adding several different graphics. Those tend to do pretty well. Those are doing pretty well right now. And then Reels are also doing pretty well. Well, for the most part, but video does really well on Instagram too. Facebook, I just kind of use our Instagram size and then just kind of follow what we do there. I don't know if I did it on the walkthrough, but on Canva, you can resize your images really quickly. So you can go up to the top, tell it to resize it for you. And if you're creating an Instagram post that's a portrait mode and you want it to be square, you can click resize and it'll do it for you. That is on the paid version though, but it makes it really simple so that if you're posting across the board and want to go like boom, 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 LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook very quickly, you can do that really, really fast, which is great because some of these platforms are asking for really different sizes. Balancing your visuals and copy. So I saw one of my clients post this one time. I'm not going to take credit for this. It was online, but I thought it was really, really interesting reading this graphic and what your eyes look at and what you're paying attention to first. Just noting the sizing, noting where you're putting your text and how people read. So keep that in mind when you're putting text on your graphics. People are scrolling really fast. They're clicking really quickly. So the more you put, they might not stop to read everything. If you want to make a really obvious point, maybe large font. But what we do is we mix a lot of sizing. So we'll do like one size font and then another size font below it or on top of it, or we will actually mix the font, the actual font. So we do like a script type font, and then we have a serif font that we'll mix together. People just, I guess, find that more attractive when they're reading. Utilize your white space if you can. So I know if we're making a graphic for like a webinar or something like that, we might not be able to utilize a ton of white space. But what I mean by that is if we want to call attention to something or like put text on something, the more white space that you have, we've found, and other people that are way better at this than me do suggest to utilize your white space and make it just easier for somebody who's reading, want to pay attention to what is in the middle of that graphic. Also mention color psychology, and then the Facebook's 20% rule. If you've ever seen this or read about this, Facebook used to have a rule that if your graphics had more than a certain amount of text, like they wouldn't go through for your ads. We've also worked with a ton of ads people who have rejected things I've given to them. So that's how we learned about that. They don't have the rule anymore, I believe, but Facebook, because they kind of created that generic rule, I like to follow it moving forward because they know what's best in terms of what their users are going to be reading and actually paying attention to. So I kind of like to use that as a guide, up to you, but I think it's a good kind of thing to follow. In terms of how people are reading the copy, they're usually reading in formations from left to right. I looked this up, but it sounded pretty legit. So if they're reading in like an S formation, E, or a Z pattern, keep that in mind. So if you have a really important thing you want them to read, maybe don't put it on like bottom right. And also font pairing, talked about that a little bit, but it's just a little nice break for somebody on the eyes when they're reading through a bunch of content and they maybe don't want to see like 20 lines of the same thing. Some quick extra tips, some free tips first, and then essentially some paid tips. Ask your audience what they want to hear about. So as you're measuring the success of your graphics and your content, we find it really helpful when, if I don't really know what I want to talk about the upcoming month, we just ask our audience. We ask them what they want to hear about, what the questions they have. There are, specifically on Instagram, there's a function to ask questions on your stories, and we'll just say like, hey, what are you guys interested in hearing about? So that you know directly what they want to hear from you and you're not just guessing. Plan out your content in advance if you want to. So there are capabilities through Canva for you to be able to do that. There's third-party platforms that'll connect to Canva or that you can sync up with your content and you can plan out in advance. So if you're the type that wants to get it done first of the month and just know that it's finished, you can plan it out. Personally, we don't do the planning on a different platform just because I had heard from a marketing expert one time that the platforms like it better when you're organically posting. I don't know if that's true, but I kind of just stuck with it. But if you do not have time, which a lot of us don't, then you can use a planner. Utilize AI. So Canva has the AI function. ChatGPT we use to write some copy sometimes if we're just stuck and we don't know what we want to write about. But it's right there for you. Now it's actually in Canva. When I created this, they didn't have that function yet. So that's pretty cool. And then use mobile-friendly designs. So 70% of users on social media are on their phone. Keep that in mind. If I think we talked a little bit about the sizing on Instagram. People are scrolling really fast. So maybe like put it on your phone and see like, does this look good? Is the font really small? Can somebody not see it? It might look really good on Canva, but sometimes when you take it to a platform, it's going to look really different. Some other paid help / like cheat sheets. So we have used outside templates from Canva before, but they actually integrate into Canva. And I think these are really great when I used to plan all of our content at the beginning of the month. You can purchase preset templates that people have already created for you. I really like Creative Market. I think they have neat designs, neat templates, and you can go purchase templates from them, and then you upload it directly into Canva. And then if you are thinking you want to create a bunch of stuff, pop in your brand colors, pop in your pictures, and it's already done. It's right there. I really love these. I think they're great. There's a lot of really creative people on Creative Market. Here's another one too. And it doesn't even have to be lawyer or legal specific. Sometimes we'll grab like business related templates or like consulting related templates. It does obviously depend on your audience, but we have a much more creative audience. So maybe they want to see something that looks a little bit non-legal, but depends on your audience and what you want to put out there. Looking at measuring our success. So most of the apps that you're probably going to be posting on all have analytics and way for you to actually see, is this stuff working? So aside from asking your audience, like, hey, do you like this? What do you want to hear more about? You can actually go in, log in, and see the statistics of what your content is doing. This is the back end of an Instagram analytics dashboard. So they'll actually be able to show you how many people viewed your content, how many people shared it, who potentially maybe clicked on your website link from that content. So you can get a really good idea of what people are doing and then make more of that in the future. Facebook has a similar thing. LinkedIn also has really good analytics for you. TikTok, same thing. Going in and seeing, okay, I've done a month or 2 months of posting, what's actually working so that you're not wasting more time in the future putting stuff up that maybe people just aren't looking at. And don't get discouraged by some of the numbers you might see when you're looking at your analytics. 1 to 5% engagement is considered really good engagement online. So when I first saw those numbers, I was like, wow, that's really bad. But those percentage of people looking and engaging at your content is really common, and those are good numbers. And don't be fooled by other accounts, maybe that have high follower accounts. Some of them might have fake followers on there. So I try really hard not to like look at other people's accounts in terms of like how their stuff is doing. But I think it is also good to, look at your friends' accounts, look at your competitors' accounts. Obviously don't copy, but see what they're doing. If people like it, that also gives you a really good indication of maybe what you want to be posting. Here are some accounts that we really like aside from our own. Kelly, who's here, Lawyer Kelly, we really like her informational graphics. They're really attention grabbing. I can always tell when her colors are popping up that it's a post from Kelly. Kelly's also a TikTok queen, so if you want to follow her, she's great. Zane from MZA Legal, I really love his videos. He's super informative, like face to camera. He's really good about that. And I just think his page is super personable. So if you're hopping on there and you're freaked out about hiring a lawyer, that's going to instantly make you feel comfortable. Another thing with face to cam, I really hated doing that in the beginning. My marketing consultant told me to keep putting my face online, and I really just didn't want to. But after we started doing it, our engagement spiked, our clients that hired us spiked. So whether you want to do it or not, it works. It's not my favorite thing, but it does work. Michelle with West Coast Lemons has really great brand color usage. Again, you can always tell that it's her account when she's posting, and she's super consistent with that. And her graphics are always super clear. She always uses big font, really clear with the topic that she's talking about. And she does a lot of videos too. So yeah, if anybody has any questions or wants to contact me, wants to chat about social media, I love talking about this stuff. But I think we can take questions from you guys if you have any. Anyone?
Question.
Great presentation. I have a question. Can you use this on a website?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use it for websites. Maybe let's open this. So you can just type in website. You might have to create it on here. They're going to give you the sizing for your website, and you might have to transfer it there. I don't know that it integrates, but it'll give you at least the sizing.
What do you recommend for attaching to emails when you want to send out a whole bunch of emails, like a PDF? Probably.
Like the actual graphics to go into email?
Yeah, maybe a PDF or just actually in the body of the email. Both of those, actually.
Yeah. We sometimes put together quick graphics, but what I've been noticing, and what if you guys are signed up to newsletters of just like we're on newsletters for a bunch of retail shops, they're, I think, using less images now because that sometimes sends your email to spam. So if you have a ton of images, that sometimes triggers that. So we use them kind of sparingly unless it's like a really important picture that needs to go in there. But that's kind of a thing that I've been noticing. A lot of people are just using like text without a ton of images, but we do a header on the newsletter just to kind of give some color so it's not just all flat.
Another question. So I'm exploring in our organization. We are a nonprofit and we provide educational services and guidance and consulting to lawyers. And I've been exploring the infographics, to provide, for example, an IOTA account, the life of an IOTA account and an infographic. Can you do that in Canva and put it on our website?
Yeah, you can. Anything you create on Canva, you can put on your website. Depending on the type of website that you're using, you might have to format it a little differently, but any of these images you can download. I don't think I said that, but you can download it as, I guess they're not going to let me. You can download it as a bunch of different types of files, PNG, JPG, you can download
HTML, no.
Video. Oh, what?
HTML, would that be included?
They have that. Not sure. Good question. It's not letting me pop it up. But
I'm interested more in like the timelines and that type of educational, like infographics, not the pictures or anything like that. Is that offered through Canvas?
Like that?
Explain. So, like for example, a timeline, and I've seen a lot of infographics. There are timelines, and those are good for what we do in terms of explaining processes and so on. Mm-hmm. So I was exploring that with Canvas, but I didn't find a lot of, like most of the stuff that they had was this, not the infographics. I couldn't find them, I don't know. So I don't know if I'm phrasing my question right, but that's what I was exploring, like timelines.
Oh, like a
templates, yeah.
Like a sample timeline?
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that, but let's see. They have different shapes for you. If like you're trying to create a timeline and you want it to be a specific shape or pixel size, you can do your own custom sizing if you need to. So if the website calls for a specific pixel size, you can tell Canva like, hey, I need it 500 by 200 or something like that, and you can create it on here. I don't know if Canva has specifically like timeline. Timeline infographic. They have stuff like this. Does that answer the question?
As a non-designer that uses Canva, I'm wondering if you have any recommendations for creating designs for print and specifically getting colors to look good when you print them that also look the way you want online.
We've used the documents like US letter. We've used this for handouts in person And if you get it printed at a pretty reputable spot, they tend to look good. I think we've also done like postcards that have looked pretty good, and the colors have looked good. I think they either partner with FedEx or something, or you can have it sent to FedEx and it looks pretty decent.
Hi. Right now, my firm is using Elder Law to do our newsletters, and we are able to upload our clients' emails to the platform to be able to send out the newsletter. Is there a way that we can do that for Canva? Because their newsletter, Elder Law, their newsletter formats are very restrictive and they don't have a lot of options, and the editing is can be very difficult. So I was wondering if there's any way, or if you know that you can upload the emails there, or if there's a way you can like export it somehow or anything like that.
I don't think you can send directly out of Canva to an email, but you can download maybe the image and put it. That's what we do. We use ActiveCampaign. I've tried a bunch of different platforms. They're all kind of buggy, but ActiveCampaign we use currently, and I'll create graphics in here, download it, and then drop it into there. I don't know if Canva currently has a way for you to send like mass emails out. I could be wrong though.
Hi, you talked about using the QR codes. Questions on those. Do they expire? Is there a number of clicks limit? And what are your options there? Can you only, like, will it only take you to a link? Can you do contact information? A little more information on those would be great.
Let's see. We've used them for like a presentation like this where we offer a free consult at the end and put up a QR code. To my knowledge, they don't expire because people have been using like 2-year-old QR codes. So I think they have 2 different apps on here, and I think you have to send it to a link. Yeah, you have to send them to a URL. But they might have another function for you to be able to send to actual email.
Hi, good morning. I have more of a marketing question. So on Instagram, if you're tagged in a post and you want to reuse that content, do you have any recommendations for how to repost it to your page?
You're tagged in it as like just a tag, or they're tagging you as a co-collaborator on the post?
They do tag us, like they put our handle in, and so we can see it like on our tagged part of the Instagram, but I don't know how to like repost it to our page in any way.
Gotcha. Ask their permission first to repost.
Okay.
And then there's some apps that allow you to directly, like you can download an app to redirectly repost that. What I like to do just to make sure I get the permission is maybe ask for the original photo, ask them to send it directly to me. So there's like a chain of, they allowed me to repost it, and then just get it from there if they're willing to do that. If not, technically you can screenshot with their permission and then just repost it, but it might not be as good of quality.
Yeah. What app would repost it immediately, like you were saying?
I forget the name. I don't use it, but I've seen, like, there's a couple of them.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Hi. What is the copyright on these images that you pull up? Are they meant for commercial use, or is it private only? Do you have to pay for commercial use?
They allow you to use for commercial use, but you can't use them and like sell stuff. That's my understanding.
I was just wondering, how often do you post on social media and what platforms?
A lot. Initially, when we were planning out content, I tried to do 2 to 3 times a week with educational information. I put up stories a lot just because I think it's fun, but our social media manager for the other business typically does like 2 to 3 stories 2 to 3 times a week. So like 2 to 3 actual images on the story. We do a lot of heavy Instagram posting, and then we have it directly repost to Facebook with Zapier. I still don't know how to pronounce that app. We use that and then send it out to a bunch of other social platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter. Twitter doesn't connect with Zapier anymore, but we used to.
Have you tried out the Magic Studio? Because
I haven't.
Talking about the AI.
I haven't tried it yet. When I typed in like create an ad, I guess that was what it was doing for making like a template. But they also have the copy that they can generate with the brand voice. So I'm gonna have to go in and like put brand voice stuff and see what it does. But it looks really cool. They hyped it a lot. They were emailing like weeks in advance about it.
Thank you.
Hi, as far as saving like a JPEG or a PNG, what would you recommend for different platforms?
We do PNG for Instagram, pretty much all platforms.
Okay.
As long as it's a static post. If it's a video, then you can save it as a MP4. I think that's the right one. But yeah, any documents will do PDFs though. So if it's like a document that's going to a client, you can do PDF. They technically have PDF digital and PDF print. So maybe to answer the other question, they have different versions. But yeah, they have a couple different options for you, but we do PNG.
So if you're emailing, if you're emailing a graphic, would you recommend the PDF for like emailing purposes, or would the PNG work for like email as well?
Is the graphic going in the email or being attached?
Going in the email.
And we do PNG.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Hi. I guess my question is, at what point and what factors did you consider before you started outsourcing your social media work?
I did not have time for the other business to do content at all. So I just didn't have the time and could afford it. I have thought about outsourcing for the firm, but I just really love it. And I don't know if I want to outsource it, but I probably at this point should outsource. If you don't have the time and you can afford it, definitely. If you don't like it and you really can't be bothered with it, you might not be putting out the best content, so maybe outsource at that point. But yeah.
This may be a little off topic, but I know that you had mentioned in pictures and emails and things like that. Are there any secrets that you know of, like when you're using the Outlook app for like these ping images to be static in your email signature? Is that something with Canva that you can do, or am I just off base?
We have our logo in our email signature.
Does that work with the Outlook mobile app?
Yeah, it shows up in there for client emails.
Okay.
But that's like the only image I do with Outlook. All other email images are through our newsletter, do it through a different platform. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yep. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you. If you guys have questions,